Hey everyone. I think we're
Hello,
live, boys.
everyone. Welcome to Convex live real-time real
Real
talk,
real time real talk. Yeah.
AMA. All right. Hi, we're the Convex founders. Uh, we're busily building things every day, but we'd like to set aside some time, I think monthly right now, to answer any questions that show up from the community. And
Yeah.
I don't see any questions yet, but we'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah. I presumably we don't really know what we're doing, but I think we just let the internet in. It didn't feel like it. I didn't feel any kind of like air go past or anything,
Oh
but
no, we got a message already. So I'm gonna we'll let some questions queue up. While we're doing that, maybe one thing that's top of mind for me, top of mind, such a manager phrase, but um, hiring. We need to scale the team up. We just really need some more people, frankly. And obviously, companies are hiring all the time, but right now, I feel like this is the time we need some more builders. Now, if you're interested, please reach out. Specifically, what we're looking for at Convex is people who are comfortable building the platform, right? And so, which it's a little bit of a rare skill. Sometimes, obviously, we hire more junior folks and train them and teach them distributed systems and all that kind of stuff. But the kind of people that would like hit the ground running at Convex right now will be folks who are comfortable building systems. So obviously, uh, anything like building. I mean, it's building databases, building proxy servers and storage systems, and a lot of these folks have worked at larger companies already and done this stuff before. But like I said, we also have you know a really awesome team. Many of whom got here without knowing much about distributed systems, but yeah, we've been kind of teaching on the way, and they're an absolutely incredible team. We are also hiring for people more on the platform side. So this would be kind of, if you're the kind of person who's really passionate about like building TypeScript libraries, like if you could think of the kind of people who would go write TRPC, for example, this kind of stuff. Really big into building like what's the most ergonomic kind of convenient development abstractions. Those are the kind of folks that would do really well at Convex too.
yep. Um yes, a question about San Francisco. Yes, this is for in person in San Francisco. Our team is very in person, and honestly loves it. So we kind of love to work that way. Uh, we the hard policy in the office is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are in office days, but many folks that live in the city just kind of like to hang out together. So many people are here all 5 days. But if you are not in San Francisco, then yeah, you would have to be willing to relocate to San Francisco because like we're big believers, especially at this phase in the company, about just kind of working across the table from each other and having whiteboards and lunch together and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, and I know that excludes some folks, and I'm sorry for that. I mean, I moved to San Francisco for work, and I regretted it. Actually, I regret it sometimes. I miss living in Sydney sometimes. But career-wise, I never regretted coming to San Francisco. And so yeah, people move here for work. There are also some roles we hire remotely, in particular, like folks on like the DX side, like the developer relations kind of side. And I think we're not ready to announce that we have an exciting new person joining soon, maybe Jamie, but soon we'll announce that.
We do. Yeah, we're gonna wait on that and do it right. So yeah.
Awesome,
um,
awesome. All right, let's get into some questions. Actually, if you have any more hiring, recruiting questions, feel free to jump in. We want to make these really kind of ask me anything kind of videos. So like you could ask about, I don't know, our thoughts on the job scene or management or anything like that. But primarily we'll be covering technical questions about Convex. Let's see. Real time has been top of mind. Me too. Yeah, top of mind all the time. I think Convex's real time story pretty good already. What's coming next in real time, Jamie? I guess client side ID allocation.
yeah, yeah. A version of our real time that's compatible with some kind of local first demands for like, we're not big believers in local first, but that's very different than hey, having more ergonomic ways to create optimistic client-side data, or even to cache or have some offline data, stuff like that. There's definitely more Convex could do to help make those patterns better. Um, and I think for me, with real time, the coolest thing I think for real time, for the future of real time, is that a lot of times real time is the words that people use when they come in the door with Convex, because they're used to a system like this being used for something like a chat app or a game, right? Or something where the UI needs to be immediately responsive. But once developers have spent a few weeks with Convex, they find that real time is almost this more pervasive solution than that, that it kind of just solves state management in a way that feels like super automatic and synchronous. And so, um, real time to me, most of what I hope happens with real time in the next year or so is just that more and more people realize how dramatically their world changes and simplifies when everything is real time.
This is a big open question. Thank you, Daniel. What's next for Convex? I'm going to name one thing because I'm sure we'll cover more things. I'm excited about component authoring. It might not sound exciting to you all, but it should be. So we have this component system, and I think right now we've got it in a weird state right now, because we have these components that drop into Convex and make it better in certain ways. You might have seen the better auth component, or the aggregates component, or the sharded counter, or the AI agent component. But that kind of makes us kind of like a consultancy where we're building all these components for other people, which works great. But what I really want is the community building components, or you could be building components for others, or just components for yourself. You could be using your own code base and splitting it up into components that compile separately, so code syncs faster and they run in sub transactions. So I think we just need to make it way more easy to author components, and then I think that's a really important building block for people building on Convex.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Second, James's thing, components continues to be probably the most crucial part of our long term strategy. I just think it's going to become even more and more valuable for developers over time. But there's going to be a lot of requests right now on things that people want from Convex, and the truth is, like, we agree with a lot of these requests. We actually want to give people all this stuff ASAP. So I'm going to go back to James's thing about the next big thing for Convex. Honestly, is really just hiring. Like, the more we can bring really talented people in here to help us speed up shipping, the faster we can get all these things out the door in the next 12 months. So very, very excited to get more people here so we can get this stuff shipped. There's a lot of things we owe you all.
Yep. It's a good question about auth. I mean, there's a few just common questions that keep coming up. One is like, can I use Convex auth? I'm ready to go to production. Can I stay with Convex auth or switch to Clerk? You can stay with Convex auth and go to production. Is reliable. But there are people who want more features. So I will say that Convex auth is probably not going to get a ton more features in the near term. So if there's anything more kind of sophisticated that you don't get from Convex auth right now, you're probably not going to get that from Convex auth. And that's the situations where you might want to use a third-party provider like Clerk, or we have the better auth component, or WorkOS. We'll be doing a ton of work with WorkOS recently as well.
Yeah, but we're close to having a version of the better auth component that folks can use. And then we've also been talking a lot to the WorkOS team, because, like, internally we're switching our own auth of auth zero, which we've been on for a long time.
But this is auth to log into the Convex dashboard. When we say our own auth, we mean like when you go to log into Convex.
Yes. I mean, when you log into Convex, yeah. So the more we've worked with that team, the better we like that team and the way they think about products. And I suppose it makes it's another ex Dropboxer team. We always find whenever we work with other ex Dropboxer founders, we're like, oh, we should have talked sooner. So we'll see where that takes us. But that's another one of those projects where the sooner we get more people here, we've got pretty big plans to make auth really good and really seamless, but we do need a little bit bigger staff to do it.
Yeah, that's also totally a secret that Jamie just leaked.
That we're switching our login to WorkOS. I didn't realize that was a secret.
Yeah, okay. I'm still in discussions with. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What motivated you to build Convex? I love it. Thank you. We love you. Jamie and I have built a lot of big infrastructure in the past. We were responsible for large teams, hundreds of developers building. I feel like we keep saying the same numbers over and over again, but we built, like a multi-exabyte storage system, and we built like a database that runs like 4 million transactions per second at Dropbox. And Jamie, designed the sync protocol at Dropbox. And so we got experience on like how things happen at scale and at big companies, and all the resources big companies have to build backends in ways that kind of compose and don't just frankly turn to shit over time. Like the development patterns that you can start fast on, but over time just keep being manageable. And then we left Dropbox and we're like, wow, this doesn't exist in the market. And we realized like, wow, there's this big need for web developers, but everyone who was solving framework stuff for web developers, there's tons of talented people, but they weren't back-end people. So they had to solve all their problems like on the front end side. So there's all this great, like, I mean, React's one thing that's amazing, but React is got nothing to do with your back end, right? So like wouldn't it be better if like it was React for your back end as well, like the full stack? And so we saw a gap in the market where there wasn't someone like taking all the amazing technologies that bigger companies have, and making them available to average non large company developers. Is that cover, Jamie?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Yeah, it's the backends can be simplified. This is a great way to do it, and for sure, it's based on all of our experiences doing this at bigger companies. And yep.
Will there be EU instances soon? Oh my God, I can't tell you how often people ask this. You should keep asking, because I think you're convincing me.
We need to do it soon.
I want to confess some arrogance. So I was in charge of doing this at Dropbox. There were customers who were like, "Oh yeah, we definitely need like storage in Germany, or we won't use the product." And I was like, "Okay." So we built it, and then hardly anyone used it. At least back then, it was like it just didn't unlock much value to the company, because at the end of the day, everyone says they want it, but then they don't pay for it, you know. And so I had maybe a bit of arrogant, like, "Oh, well, I think people say they want EU, but they don't really need it." And no, you've all convinced me. I think we need to build it. It's yeah, soon. I don't know, within 3 months. I'm certainly hoping.
Yeah, it's just to be very transparent with everybody. Like, we are focusing on stabilizing and scaling our database systems right now, and really until that is in really good shape, it's irresponsible to switch focus on anything else. So as soon as we feel like we're in extremely good shape for the next kind of generation of convex companies at higher scale on the database side, at that point we'll be able to shift focus to kind of what's the next big kind of infra initiative, and EU's hosting will be it. So, but we can't defocus off of database scaling and stability until it's definitely in amazing shape, just because fundamentally that is our biggest responsibility to customers is that.
Yep. I'm just going to show a few quick auth comments here. Got Convex Auth working today. I mean, it works great. I use Convex Auth. Someone here was saying they just switched through a whole different bunch of auth providers and ended up working on Convex Auth because it works just fine. And yeah, I think so too. Most folks don't need like sophisticated auth needs. And there is a comment here about WorkOS and Convex, saying that we might have the component might not be in great shape, and you may be right. What I can say is this is becoming, like Jamie said, a far bigger priority for us.
It's also the newest of all those. Yeah. So if there's still things that we need to fix or improve or complete the picture on, that wouldn't surprise me, because the WorkOS integration is the newest one. So, but I think it's the WorkOS will be a strategically important partner probably for Convex, and so we'll be paying a lot more attention to it.
I think WorkOS will be quite interesting for like big companies, right? Like if you have an ambition to be like a very large company with like the needs for like SAML and all these fancy auth things, I think the WorkOS one will be quite interesting. You're in charge of a high school, middle school curriculum technology, AI programming. What would you do with the freedom? Okay, Jamie, I want you to answer this question. What would you teach in a class right now about AI and programming?
I would make them turn off AI every other day. A. And then the second thing is I would teach them some basic functional programming pretty early to get them to understand kind of nouns before verbs, and the idea about kind of the power of declarative stuff instead of just imperative stuff. And then after that, as long as you have those two things in there, those are probably the two that I would think about doing as part of the couple of things we're going to make sure that we thread through the curriculum as a bit of kind of functional reasoning, basic stuff. I don't mean super advanced stuff, but like I do think like MIT. What was the class, James? It was famously the scheme class or whatever, where like
6170 was it?
yeah, it was
No,
like structure and interpretation computer. What is it like the
might have got it wrong.
yeah. Anyway, I think that they moved away from that, went to Python, which is very industry and practical, right? But like, I do think early school is the one chance you have to like get folks to begin by thinking about kind of mathematical reasoning, kind of connection. And there's less and less need as the industry evolves to think so much about like the machine does step A, then does step B, and then step C. That is, of course, true that machines are just Turing tape under the covers or whatever, but like for developers to design good systems and think about good abstractions, having a little bit of functional programming early, I think is useful. And then the second thing is just every third day or something, you have to turn the LLMs off, because I do think that like writing bad code and having to fight it is part of how you build competency to be able to work effectively with LLMs in the future.
Yeah, I think on that last point, I mean, Jamie and I are going to agree so much on this, right? You have to decide whether you're going to be a producer or a consumer, right? Like, are you going to be a consumer of AI technologies or a producer of technology in an AI era? The students are going to learn how to consume this stuff no matter what, right? They're probably all way better than the teachers right now at using the tools that exist. And so you're like, okay, cool. How are you going to transcend everybody else? Everyone else knows how to ask Claude to do something, right? And there's going to be I guess a class system one day in the future, right? Of the people who know how to ask a robot to do something, the people who know how to either build the robot or do something better than the AI, and those people need to know fundamentals. They're not going away, right? You just being able to think for yourself, be able to understand first principles, think about functional programming, understand structure of computer programs. And I think if I mean, I'm really talking more about university level, but yeah, maybe high school too. Being able to be like, and this is relevant to me, to us hiring right now. Like, we're not looking for people who use platforms that can build platforms. And so, if you want to be a person who, for the next 10 years, is still actively building stuff and advancing the state of the art, I think fundamentals still really matter. Yeah, even though it's tempting to be like, let's learn all the cool technologies, and they're going to spend the whole course on how to do prompting. That's not what they need to learn at school, I don't think. And what they need to learn at school is like some fundamentals they might not learn by themselves. Yeah. All right. This is I'm gonna show this because this is also very self-serving because I did this. So let's give a little tour of the wall over here. So clearly we haven't finished it because there's a bunch of missing pictures, but Jamie and I wanted to make like a wall where it kind of felt like Convex has been this brand forever, and so we were doing all these things in the 80s and stuff. So like there's this like Convex 64 advanced home computer. There's this moon landing that Gautam, one of our engineers, made. We have this kind of Polaroid VHS that says Convex high standard video cassette. This is like the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon album cover, but with a Convex in the middle there. And over here, the man Jamie Turner himself made. This is Ayrton Senna's. This is the MP4C, the F1 car,
Yep.
with the Convex livery instead on the side.
Instead of shell, convex. So we were like, let's create this fiction that Convex is a brand that has been around for 100 years or something. And so over the years, every now and then someone will, on an afternoon, will just get out, modern Photoshop equivalent and just start hacking away at, let's make some new joke about Convex at some important moment in history or whatever. So
Yeah, and it's just kind of part of our DNA. Like, I'll speak for myself. I love that era of design, like that real techno optimist, like that kind of era where you weren't like, a lot of like tech marketing is a bunch of like dumb faces going, and just like it looks so fake. And I liked back like almost that Sputnik era where like, look at this cool thing, it's a friggin' spaceship, and everyone was like, yeah. I like that, like sincere tech forward kind of marketing of that era. And so this is a little bit our aesthetic. our
Yep.
product and in our website and in our art.
It also adds a little levity because we always like running everyone's database is a really big responsibility. And so, but like, I think it's important to keep threaded through the culture, like not taking ourselves too seriously and stuff like that. So obviously we weren't really, Convex was not really responsible for all these things, but I think kind of making fun of ourselves a little bit is an important part of a culture where we really strive for excellence so much. We want to also make sure to not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah. Justin, by the way, said that he said the MIT class was 6001, which may very well be. I forget. I've been gone too long. Cool. Nick says the difference between self-hosted and cloud Convex. Is there a strategy? Okay, so they're almost the same thing, but not the same thing. Self-hosted is literally the exact same source code, but it's not all of it. So we don't have like this project management. We always have all this code to manage, hundreds of thousands of backends, and we have this scale out clusters for all these services that scale out to many thousands of nodes. But so the self-hosted one's the same code, it works. We may just open source everything. Haven't decided yet and haven't had time to decide yet, frankly. But I don't really see why we need to keep that secret.
No,
So
I
we
mean,
probably, yeah.
I think some users think we haven't released the scale up cloud because we're worried about people not using the paid version or something. And it really isn't it. Like we've talked enough about companies in this space that like if folks really want to scale it up themselves, I would rather they use Convex than they don't, right? The biggest thing we worry about is that our team is, and I think folks that are in our Discord would agree with this, like our team is really helpful. Like we really try to enable everybody. And so um, it would be I don't want to get pulled in a hole of spending all our time trying to have folks navigate all our really strange proprietary cloud code to figure out how to run it on the.
Wow. Jamie, did your audio cut off? I wonder if people can, I can't hear you right now. Let's see if, was Wayne saying, Wayne, can you hear Jamie? Jamie cut off, but I'm still here. So I'll let Jamie figure out his audio, and I'll tap in. What was Jamie going to say? Oh, he's maybe coming back.
No?
Anyway, the self-hosted one, you can use it and you can scale pretty big. Like you can like point the back end at like post at planet scale or whatever, and scale pretty large, to be honest. You can put your storage on R2 or S3, and we'll probably open source the whole thing. I just think most people probably shouldn't do that because they should probably, it's going to sound very cynical. They should probably just pay us. But the reason why is I think we can run it cheaper than you, and probably you should be spending your time like building your apps instead of scaling infrastructure.
Can you hear me
Um,
now?
yeah,
Can
we
you hear
got you
me
now,
now?
Jamie.
I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. Like the mic level turned down. Yeah, basically what James said. We're like, we. I think though it's important enough to let people run their own scale up stuff that we're definitely strongly considering like could we invest a little time again when the team is bigger into making a version of the cloud product that's just based on like we don't even use Kubernetes, for example, because we don't like Kubernetes. And so if we wanted to give someone something that was actually useful, we probably would need to make something where you could just plug into EKS or something. And so, but that's not really the way we built the system. We haven't built the system to be usable if you're not at Convex. And so we're probably gonna have to put some work in order to make the kind of scale up version useful for everyone. So
Yep. Maximin says, you want to build an AI app builder? Yeah, a lot of people do right now. And Convex is an excellent backend target for AI app builders. We're onboarding a lot of folks right now. And typically, they have very good experiences so far. People like almost always, and I won't show any screenshots of message or anything, but almost always they get a message the next day saying some version of, holy crap, this is working really well. Because LLMs just produce Convex code very, very well. You can go try Chef out and see as a demo. There is this search for Convex AI platforms, Convex platforms. You can get started right now using Convex as an app builder. There's one question you have to decide on. You could do like the Like you could do it so that your customers come to your app builder and then they click connect Convex and they connect their Convex account, and they create projects in their Convex account. That's one model. Most people we're seeing these days are not doing that. Most people, they're owning the project themselves. So I'll pick Bloom is one we could talk about. Bloom is an app builder for mobile apps built on Convex. You don't connect your Convex account to Bloom. They have their own Convex account. They pay the bill, and they charge you, or they charge their developers. That's I think that's where the future is going. I think a lot of people who are showing up to AI app builders don't want to have their own Convex deployment. They just want the app builder to own it for them.
Yep.
They both work. AI push. What's Convex doing to ensure carbon footprint's minimal as possible? I don't know if this is that relevant to us because we don't do a lot of we don't do any of that stuff. Like we don't really do much heavy compute. And I think Convex is designed to be pretty efficient to begin with. And so.
I mean, I think it's actually fair to say that like, especially because of things like the automatic caching and the fact that like you can just write TypeScript, but we're actually running your service in Rust as much as possible anyway via various other platform things. Like,
Jamie, you got to turn your volume up again.
oh my god, I don't know what this thing is doing. It's
I've
wild.
had that problem before. Yeah,
It keeps turning itself down. Anyway, if you're using Convex, you're probably using less energy than if you weren't. And we're not in when it comes to the AI side, like all the inference and training, like Convex isn't really doing that for the most part. So, while we too are paying attention to that, and I agree it's a real issue, like our company is not necessarily a heavy user of inference.
Yeah, at Dropbox we used to deal with this more because we actually had our own data centers and stuff. But there's Chef. Chef uses tokens, but it's not like using kind of Curses, Infra Budget or Anthropic or whatever. Aggregates still has. Yeah, I don't think aggregate components where it needs to be yet. What is an aggregate? An aggregate is the ability to compute aggregated numbers on a table, right? So you might have a whole bunch of rows in a table and you say, what's the sum of this field across the table? Or what's the count of rows in this table? And aggregates are quite expensive to compute in databases because an aggregate typically involves walking over the entire table. And even though you can go and select count or select sum in SQL and think it's efficient, it's not efficient, right? You could do select sum blah in SQL. It's going to walk over the entire table in your database, right? So the aggregate component is the ability to compute this stuff very efficiently using B trees. But I think the aggregate component is like cool technology that's not packaged in a way that's easy to use. Like we should just have like a sum component and a count component and an average component or something like that. It's really cool technology. It's just not packaged up, I think, in a user-friendly enough way.
Yep. Yeah. The existing aggregate component would probably be better as an underlying component that people don't use directly, maybe, and we expose higher level things that make it easier to use. Also, too, what the aggregate component gives you, which is a very cool convex trick, but most systems often don't try, is it gives you transactionally consistent aggregates. And many systems, the way they approach aggregates is that they actually calculate the aggregate periodically outside of the transactional boundary, and often that's good enough. So some folks were asking about OLAP support in the future. Like eventually when Convex has a built-in like OLAP engine, I think a lot of what people want to do with aggregates would just be easier to knock out using that than using the aggregate component.
A couple of questions about kind of partnership-ish outreachy things. Yes. Thanks, Ben. Absolutely. You can connect us. I'm just going to drop Wayne's email address in here. Hopefully you don't mind, Wayne. It's wayne@convex.dev. If you reach out to wayne@convex.dev, he'll take care of that. And yes, you probably drop by the Convex office on the 18th. I haven't checked my schedule, but probably. And if you also Wayne@convex.dev. Wayne is amazing. A lot of people have met Wayne. He's our kind of partnerships outreach kind of person, and he'll take care of that. Can we get a sneak peek of the syntax for the new API? Probably, but I haven't prepared that. So
We don't. We don't have it read. We don't have it sitting here right now,
I'll give
unfortunately.
one example, right? Like, so Ian has this proposal for a better use query syntax where one, you get back an object. So instead of getting back just the data, you get back an object that has like some fields, like whether it's loading, etc. And then the use query has like an object with, you can say stuff like cache locally, or skip if the result's not ready yet, or like auth related stuff. So that's one example, is extending the use query function or hook. Another one is this one that'll be happening soon. We need very basic. We need to change our, if you probably noticed, db.get, db.patch, and db.delete. They just take the ID of the document, but that's kind of not, it's kind of a weird API. It should be table ID, because that'd be more symmetric with everything else. And so we're going to make this change. And that also allows us to unlock client-side ID allocation. So when you're doing optimistic updates, you can just assign an ID via your UID locally on the client. So those two things are happening soon.
Okay. I'm nervously just checking the levels on my mic now to make sure it doesn't turn itself down again.
Well, I'll yell at you.
Yeah.
Jamie, you want to handle this?
Does using Convex for mobile mean the app is unusable even for my own data without a connection? If local first isn't the thing, how do we solve lack of connectivity for users? It still needs to be solved. It's just like, and teams do solve it. It's just Convex doesn't build in libraries yet to help you very much. And so like there's a project that we've actually connected Replicache to Convex a while ago. Other folks have used Index DB or one of the Index DB wrappers to kind of augment some kind of local cache. Or if you're doing mobile, sometimes you can use, the platform specific facilities for caching data locally in SQLite or whatever. So it's all doable. It's just right now you kind of have to wire it up yourself for the most part. So as we do want to add better support for doing those kinds of patterns in the future and make it easier to use in the Convex. James just mentioned a big one, which is client-side ID generation, right? It's a kind of a pain in the butt to work with kind of offline or local first kind of patterns with Convex if you're not allowed to generate document IDs. So there's a sequence of things we need to do that will make it easier to solve these problems. I think when I say we don't leave them local first, Convex is the core of Convex's belief, and I'm going to write a blog post about this soon, is that like the world should be single threaded. So what I mean by that is like developers want to just write code that like kind of just works and they don't have to think about concurrency or consistency. And in our opinion, that in some ways is kind of the biggest benefit that makes all kinds of other problems disappear. And that requires serializability in order to do it. And if local first, where you insist that we begin with local first and have it automatically get to the server, is incompatible with serializability. You have to use a lower consistency model, or you have to be willing to kind of write code twice, once on the server and once on the client. And so when we think about local first, we always start from the beating heart of Convex is this powerful server with serializability. And then we want to be able to let you opt in to ergonomic local first patterns without undermining that most important tenet of Convex. So that's why we're not starting with local first. We're starting with the power of the Convex you have now. And then we're just going to augment that a little bit to make it easier to do optimistic updates and offline.
Yeah. It's basically local second.
Local second. Yeah.
I just think realistically, it just ain't local first, because the source for most people, the source of truth for their data is the server. There's people out there who want to keep all their data on a NAS and like a fireproof safe and all that stuff. But generally, in the modern era, people think the data is safe when it's on a server. It should be synced and consistent when it's on a server. And so generally the server is the source of truth and the source of collaboration for most state in most applications. Not all applications, but most, probably 90% of applications these days. So local matters, but it's kind of local second.
Local second.
Yep. Is it possible to do DB per tenant in Convex? I'm not sure exactly what this question is, but
it's probably like a management API question in a way, right? It's like, the way I'm this showed up, we didn't anticipate it, but in retrospect, we should have, which is like folks that are reselling Convex as part of their product, a lot of times they like to separate customers into different like databases or whatever. And then when vibe coding shows up, it's an extreme version of that. Vibe coding platforms are like this on steroids, right? Like tons and tons of separate projects, databases. Convex does have a management API that we've been onboarding teams onto, and we've started releasing documentation for, and we'll continue to do so. So if you are doing something where like I talked to a customer yesterday who his customer is banks, and he was like, I've got like 10 customers, but they're all really valuable, and their data being separate matters a lot. And so like, how should I think about that? If that's the kind of situation you have, yeah, sometimes database per tenant can work. And we do have management APIs so that you can still automate deploying your software version or software version management or whatever across the different projects. Basically, we're releasing more of those all the time.
I think our pricing page might have some limit on the number of projects. I hope we remove that. Well,
that's
just
probably
so
going to be an enterprise plan thing eventually. But
yeah, like there are people with like 100,000 Convex projects, or thereabouts. So and Chef runs on Convex, and it has a lot of projects. So yes, absolutely, you can do this. There's questions about docs on AI agent component. Absolutely, AI agent component is still very actively under the development. So yes, we know we need to keep advancing that forward. And there's another quick one, maybe reading and writing related data easy. Yeah, this is API v2 should make this easier. Now, typically, I think it's easy to read related data in Convex, but because I'm thinking about it in the Convex way. But like, there's nothing magical going on in a database when you kind of looking up a relation. Basically, if you fetch one row and then you look at the ID, like just say you're looking up a users table, and you get the user, and then there's a row in there that says it's pointed to their company, and then you look up companies by ID. So you just have two separate statements, and if there's an index on, you just store the index, you store the ID in the first table, and then you can read that very efficiently out of the index. All that said, we should just make it more convenient.
Yeah, the best way you can provide that feedback to us on like, what do you mean by that? What does that mean to you? Because it's different for everybody. Is go look at the Convex Ends project and then tell us what parts of it you like, so that we can understand what you mean by that.
Yep. This is a nice philosophical question. Where do you see the future of software going? You have Chef, and AI is going to take our jobs is a narrative, not necessarily my narrative, but yet we're hiring. Would you be interested to hear your perspective? Well, there's lots. We could talk for a full hour on this, so we're going to try to keep it short. AI ain't building Convex in the next couple of years. That's for damn sure. Yeah.
I don't think AI is going to take our job. I think AI will be human enablement, human accelerant. Therefore, it has the ability to possibly shrink the labor market. But historically, whenever a new efficiency shows up, normally the ambition just gets higher to make things better or whatever. So I definitely don't think it's a foregone conclusion that AI is going to replace developers. The thing I do worry about, and James and I had a podcast episode where we talked about this for a while, is that in the short run, companies love to make more money, right? They love to make more margin. And I do think that AI is a particular accelerant to senior engineers, right? Because they know how to coach the AI very effectively. And my worry is that especially public companies who have a lot of margin pressure on them are going to hire fewer junior people for a while because now their senior people can get a lot of work done. The problem, though, is it creates a gap in this craft we all love where there's not the apprenticeship years to learn how to be a great curator, so that when you're a senior, you can be one of those people that's being extremely leveraged with AI. So that to me is the risk more, is just there'll be this temporary situation where we have short-term thinking because we can save money on people new to software development and not hire them for a while. But I think that will have consequences down the road, because when the senior people retire or go into management or whatever, you haven't invested in the next class of senior people to be able to be in control. So Convex is quite excited about really talented junior people. Like, we think that still is a huge part of how software will work in practice.
Yeah, and this is not necessarily, I can't comment for the industry as a whole, but Convex, we care about excellence here. Now, our engineers all use like LLMs every day, right? A lot of people are using Claude Code or Cursor or whatever, but like an LLM is not capable of making good API design decisions when you're trying to innovate beyond the status quo. And it's not capable of like re-architecting our backend or figuring out like how to do compaction in a B tree effectively. Like LMs are very good at pattern matching, and a lot of software development is involves a lot of pattern matching. And it's making that stuff much more efficient. There are jobs like Convex where no, like it almost hasn't reduced our need for engineers at all. Like because we're trying to do things that are frankly better than what an LLM is capable of right now. But yeah, to Jamie's point, it's hard for people to attain those skills if they're not doing it every day. And they're not, I think there is value in suffering. I think, the reality is like there's a group of people who had to go through like the hard road of writing stuff from scratch and not being able to like always have something to ask. And AI has accelerated people's learning in a lot of ways, but it has slowed down people's learning in some ways because you can get lazy. And so I would just recommend people not to become a lazy software engineer, because the non-lazy software engineers will continue to have very interesting jobs.
Yep, that's like a really good point. Yep, you'll still be very employable if you put in the work to move beyond the AI. Every now and then, even though it's very tempting to not move beyond it and just let it do most of the work for you.
And there was a question about separate project per environment. Yes, in Convex, you just have dev and prod. If you want to have like a staging, or some people just want to have multiple environments for whatever reason, sure, you can just create separate projects, and that's no problems.
We by the way, we probably will fix that eventually. Like we have that request from a number of customers right now. They would love to be able to make a staging environment or some other labeled environment besides just dev preview environments and the one prod. It's like, could I have a second special thing like prod and just label it the way I want for like a staging workflow? So we know that desire is there. In the short run, people do solve that with a second project, but we will eventually make that more ergonomic and let you create a staging environment.
Yep. How capable is Convex real time with encrypted data? Should work fine. Though the way we do subscriptions doesn't really depend on the contents of the data themselves. Just depends on the rows or the ranges of the data. So I don't actually see any caveats to real time with encrypted data. Because what you're subscribing to is the rows themselves, not the data inside those rows. It doesn't affect our caching. It should be fine. You don't need to encrypt your data. Like, we have all like our compliance and blah, 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 but I understand some people want to encrypt their data, and it shouldn't affect caching at all.
Yep.
Oh, one thing I will say, there's a gap in Convex, right? Not related to encryption, but related to auth, right? So in Convex, we cache a query based on the arguments to the query and the rows that it's read, but if you have two users with two different auth IDs, they're different queries, right? So we don't cache the full query result across different users with different, user IDs, if that's part of the function. We will eventually do this. We just haven't done it yet. Update for second question. OLAP. There we go. The typo fixed. Update for OLAP. We need to do it. We haven't done it. That's all. We have a prototype, uses Duck DB. Haven't done it. In the meantime, unfortunately, if you want to do proper OLAP, so proper analytics queries in Convex, you need to stream that data out, and people use like 510 or Airbyte. They stream it to say to Snowflake or Databricks or whatever, and they run their query there.
I think realistically speaking, we talked about this a little earlier, but it's probably sequenced behind EU hosting. So it's like, we got to get the database stabilized. We could probably take on EU host. Like, I think OLAP probably would be after that in terms of priority. So that probably means at least 3 months away. But again, depends on how quickly we hire. The more folks we get here, the faster we can take on all these things.
Okay, so someone's migrating to Convex and they want to set creation time. And so I think it wouldn't be a great idea to set creation time. But obviously you have like a legitimate use case here, and I might be misunderstanding that use case. So um, creation time really reflects the time that data was created in the Convex database. It's kind of like our private field that represents state that matters to the Convex platform. We could potentially find a way of making it user settable, but I'd have to think through the implications of that. Typically, what one would do if they want to have a user settable time, just add it to their own field. Tons of people have asked for, by the way, updated at time, and we haven't created an updated at time, but they just go do it themselves. And so you can just do that. So I'd recommend, I obviously don't know all the context on your use case, but I would say just add your own field called creation time without an underscore, maybe. I don't know. Cool. Good to turf AI every day. Okay, yes. It's resist the temptation to just succumb to the machine, even though the machine is very useful. Okay, pricing question, Jamie.
Yes, there are. It will be one of the many features of the enterprise plan is that you will get caching cost benefits. And we do have customers now that run a lot of traffic and would very much like this. So yeah, it's coming.
Aside from auth, real-time, planet scale, what makes Convex a better choice over Superbase? I actually don't think those are the main reasons I would say Convex is better than Superbase, because I don't think our auth is necessarily like way better than Superbase's auth in any way. And I don't think the planet scale stuff should matter to most people, because at the end of the day, our job is just to provide a reliable, fast database for you. So I think what distinguishes Convex over Superbase is, one, the developer ergonomics. People who use Convex find it, I guess, delightful to use in a way that helps them move very fast and scale very fast. Real-time sync and not just real-time sync, but end-to-end data consistency. So knowing the data on your client is strongly consistent with the data on the server matters a lot. And the other one, there's just a very big architectural difference between Convex and Superbase. And look, and sure, scheduling and all that kind of stuff and how they all fit together. But the big architectural difference, the huge architectural difference, that in Superbase, you typically write almost all your application on the client. And typically you send SQL queries from the client to the database directly, and you use row-level security rules to protect your database using some configurations. And those queries you're sending aren't running in transactions because they're just separate queries. And in Convex, it looks far more like a traditional RPC service. So in Convex, even though you're writing your Convex functions in your Convex directory in your client code base, they are running on the server in a transaction. You can do a whole bunch of things. They're all going to run transactionally in a single consistent snapshot. You never have to think about race conditions or data management complexities. And then you can call that over an RPC very ergonomically with use query or use mutation. And so that's the biggest difference by far. And yes, in Superbase, you could deploy an edge function and do this yourself in certain ways, but it's just not the Superbase way of doing things. And so the Convex way of doing things, Superbase way of doing things, very, very different, even though they're kind of in the same market. I obviously think the Convex way is easy to use, and it just scales. Not just, when we say scale, I don't mean just scale in terms of requests per second. I mean scale in terms of, can you keep building and extending and managing this application once you have 10, 20, 30, 40 developers and a sprawling code base and lots of things going on.
The other thing I do want to call out, because on the account management side, because often we're so busy developing Convex, we don't always know exactly what Superbase is doing, to be honest. But certainly when customers bring it to our doorstep, we start paying attention. But I will say most recently, scale. We've had people switch off of Superbase recently because Convex was faster and handled their traffic better. That's been new and surprising to me, because as developed as a product as they are, I was surprised that we could outscale them. But it seems, at least in some circumstances, we can. And then the other thing is security. So the sort of open open by default, RLS, make sure you don't like forget to lock down a table kind of thing from the browser, is a pretty fragile model. And Convex's security story is much more robust. And so those have been two of the reasons why people have been switching when their products are already have been on Superbase, that they've been switching to Convex lately.
Yep. There's a question about, can we use Convex for an Airtable-like experience? And it depends on your use case. This is actually probably the worst case scenario for Convex, but it might still be good. So the Convex dashboard, if you've used Convex, the dashboard is written on Convex, right? So anything you're doing in the dashboard is written on Convex, right? It's not some special thing. So yes, if you want something like the Convex dashboard, absolutely you can do that. And building a spreadsheet or something in Convex would be great, because like the reactivity is awesome. You can have a collaborative spreadsheet, all this kind of stuff. The one thing that's not awesome in Convex right now, we mentioned already with OLAP support, is if you want to do some operation where if you're building post hog, or if you are building like I wouldn't build Databricks on Convex, and I wouldn't build post hog onto Convex. Any big analytics use case where you want to read gigabytes of data and compute some derived state wouldn't be a good fit. That's the domain of an analytics database. Is quite different. Also, by the way, I wouldn't recommend doing that on Superbase either. You should just go use a dedicated analytics database. But I think for this case, you're probably fine. Probably works great. People are liking the Kappa docs.
Yep. Yeah, those the kind of AI assistant it's in both docs.convex. We have it on our Discord, and like it gets used very heavily. So I'm glad to hear that people are finding it useful.
Yep. Here only because of Theo. Well, look, you know what? I hope you came for Theo, but you stayed for the product.
Yeah, you don't have to stay for Theo. It's great if you came for Theo, but feel free to, if we haven't impressed you, then you've given Theo enough respect, I think. So hopefully you'll stick around because the product is good.
I'm jumping into the middle of a conversation. 1 per org at scale. Okay, this must be a Clerk auth discussion. Sorry, there's a whole. Convex does not charge $1 per org, so per project. So you're good there. Lots of questions about auth. Here we go. This is a good. Okay, I see that Sonnet 4 has trouble understanding internal versus normal functions. It also mixes up with actions. Yeah. So this has not been a problem with Chef. So every LLM has a different personality, and they perform differently on Convex. And Chef, which is our code gen tool, uses Sonnet 4 still. And we've trialed GPT-5, and we've used all of the other models. Claude Sonnet 4 performs best on Convex right now on Chef because it's better at tool calls. So right now, the different models that have different levels of like almost obedience, and Sonnet 4 is pretty good at doing exactly what you asked, nothing more. And then if the prompt says, and then go run npx convex deb afterwards, whatever, it generally just does it. And we've found sometimes with Gemini and ChatGPT, they're less good at the tool calls. Now, if you're using Convex through a cursor or something, that doesn't matter as much, and you might have better results with different models. I will say, if you're using an LLM to write Convex code, which almost everyone is, you should use the Convex prompt, which is in on our docs. And there's a prompt you can drop in it, and hopefully it supplements Sonnet's understanding of internal versus normal functions. But maybe it doesn't. Yeah. Jamie.
So Tanac DB is, at least to my understanding, right, is really the ambition of that project is to be a great like local cache for local sync engine kind of use cases. Like, for example, I think the Electric team was pretty involved in making it, and I think it helps make Electric SQL a good product. So so that, but that's kind of about it. It kind of wants to be a useful piece to be able to build these kind of low like client side sync engine things. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we took a close look at it at some point as we were adding more features like this. But unfortunately, I don't know much more about it other than that. So I don't want to misrepresent it, because I definitely know the people working on it are really talented and stuff. So yeah. So sorry, that's about as much as I have on it so far. It's kind of on my to-do list to look at it more closely.
Thanks, Strange Warden. Hi, guys. How are you both? That's nice. Thanks for asking. How are you, Jamie?
Good. I'm good, except I'm sad because someone's saying no big companies use Convex, and or things are not good about Convex. Not all things
Oh,
are
I haven't read
perfect
the.
in Convex, but yeah, indexing is terrible. And I think the built-in is kind of that. There's a thing about if built-in functionality, and it's always interesting to hear what people mean by built-in. So, because to us, components are built-in, and I think the issue with the aggregate component is just too complex. The API is too complex. So, there's nothing special about it being built in that would change the performance, or because convex indexes and convex aggregates, and like it's just your database under the covers. It's just wrapping Postgres and MySQL. So like convex indexes are Postgres indexes or MySQL indexes. We're kind of on both systems right now, but yeah, but getting understanding and feedback more is really useful. I do agree the aggregate component is very powerful, but also really confusing right now. And having simpler ways to get access to that are a little bit more oriented around use cases, instead of like what the aggregate component actually is a really powerful wrapper for B trees, right? And so you can solve so many problems with it, but the API is relatively complicated.
You can tell Jamie's got his head in the game because there's a question about how he's doing, and he answered a question about components.
Oh,
But
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. I'm doing great.
yeah,
Thank
you
you
know
for
what?
asking.
Like I've been working too much, frankly, because I've been excited. Like it's been really heating up over here. It's been hot in Convex land every day. Things have been happening, and that's great. But I've been working too much. I really need to go for a long motorcycle ride sometime. Hopefully,
Yep.
maybe this weekend. We'll see.
And also too, just to let everyone know, even though we always like first respond to the feedback and take it seriously, because we should, and it may be right, which is why you should always listen to it. But there are some big companies using Convex. We don't announce every
Oh
we
yeah,
have not yet announced every big company using Convex. So
I haven't seen
um,
that chat message yet, but yeah, there's probably someone saying no big
yeah,
companies use Convex. We don't like necessarily say all their names all the time. So yeah.
right.
Solid plus convex when Jamie likes solid.
I love
Jamie.
SolidJS. There's a number of libraries out there for it. I wrote one a long time ago. Official support. I mean, I think Tom Ballinger on our team kind of did a pass to make at least Svelte updated recently. The truth is, it won't be something that we have focused team work on anytime soon, despite the fact I think it's an amazing framework. And part of it is like, while our team is relatively small, which we still are at this phase of the company, we just have to stay very laser focused on kind of the React based frameworks working extremely well, because 92% of our users, that's what they're using, probably more than that.
I just scrolled down and saw this. Whoops, wrong one. I clicked the wrong button. It's nice that I showed that though, isn't it? This one here. Will true database relation come to Convex? Convex is 100% a relational database. Convex is an ACID, serializable ACID relational database, 100% relational in every way.
Mhm.
And if it's not coming across that way, it might be because we need to explain things differently, or maybe you're asking when will Convex as a query planner. That might be what you're saying. But Convex is a yeah.
I think, yeah, sometimes people mean a few different things by this. But the thing we answered before about like better join ergonomics sometimes is what people mean. Sometimes people mean foreign key constraints. They want foreign key constraints, and like,
Oh, constraint. Yeah, okay, yeah. You have to
yeah,
do it yourself.
we will probably, you just have to do it yourself, because our experience is most big systems in practice drop their foreign key constraints because they're too expensive to calculate. So Convex wants to be a building block to be able to make really powerful stuff. And so the way we would view that is a kind of ORM layer that enforces that eventually, that you can opt into, because out of the box foreign key constraints are extremely expensive, and in practice normally eventually removed because they get quite expensive for
Yeah.
databases to calculate.
The way, I mean, the difference between Convex and say MySQL and Postgres, right, is we just make things more explicit. So it's not like they're doing something magic. When you have a foreign key constraint in these databases, it just goes and checks that the other row is there, right? It's not
Yeah.
doing anything magical, right? And so in Convex, you just have to do it yourself. So there are times, and I've written apps myself where I go and say, is that, like, you do like a upsert kind of thing, or is that row there? If not, insert it. So we could make it more ergonomic, but yes, you can just do it yourself. But it's code, you know. Omer, hey, sorry, my inbox is, oh my god, my inbox is a disaster. But I would love to have you building components, and you can do it right now. There's nothing stopping you building components. You can just look at an existing one, kind of copy paste it, and modify it from there. But we'll try to get the draft component authoring guide to you, and then just make our docs way better.
Can we do that one about the most recent one? Love to see more strict fields, because I think it's another good conversation point about what convex is and isn't. So you can do stuff like this with Zod, right? So, and we have in convex helpers, there's utilities to wrap values, our validators with Zod, and we encourage teams to use them, and they should. The reason why convex does not itself have a really expressive constraint language, and it just uses basic types for its schema, for example, is because if you imagine, if you change these constraints, right, to say, oh, now it can only be 3 characters instead of 4, Convex gives you the guarantee that whatever is in your schema, definitely your data matches it, and you can move forward knowing you won't have a runtime type error. And so the more powerful we make the kind of like constraint system, the more, like, every time you make a change to your schema, once you have, millions and millions of records, which many of our customers do, it's an extremely expensive operation to walk all those records at deploy time and like execute the invalidation and make sure it's true. It's one of those things where if it's worth it to you, you can do that. We give you the migration component and ways to ensure these things yourself, but making them defaults is that normally is like, that's a little too primitive. We like to keep the core of convex very tight, and then we view a lot of these features that people sometimes want, sometimes don't, as stuff you should be able to opt into, but won't be like built in, because it shouldn't matter very much whether it's built in. It's going to do the same amount of work whether you're using a higher level like convex ents or convex helpers, and convex itself. The performance won't be any different. And if we get the APIs right, the APIs should feel about the same.
Yeah. All right, Jamie, we're at time, so I suggest we do a speed round where we
Yep.
just try to get through as many, like, as fast as we can, and we might not get to every question. So let's just go. Were we using MongoDB for subscriptions? No. Convex has the best subscriptions in the game. I will stand by that. We all built it all ourselves. If you Google for a blog post called "How Convex Works," it'll explain how subscriptions work, and I think you'll probably be impressed. It's that's our secret sauce. Hey, thanks. You love Convex, great. Why is it not the way for all new projects? It takes time for people to trust new companies and new ways of doing things. It just takes time, unfortunately, because it's very novel and new and different. But I can tell you, it's happening. We're getting a lot of startups, say YC startups and stuff, sign up for Convex right now. Can we have pagination return a ballot? I would love to make pagination better. We need to spend some more time on it. Jamie, do you want to jump in on some of these too while we go through?
Yeah, no, not anytime soon. Convex probably makes 10%, 8% of its revenue from Chef. So we love Chef because it helps us stay world-class at AI and make sure that all the code gen companies on Convex have the best possible experience. But like, it's not the primary driver of revenue right now.
Yeah.
And I don't anticipate that changing in the next 24 months.
Yep. If you build a code gen tool, we do not desire to compete with you, and we will most likely give you the Chef code base. Yep. Self-hosted version, horizontally scalable, not really. I mean, it is insofar as you can point to planet scale and stuff, but like, it does hit the limit of a single machine at a certain point. Improvements to filtering. I almost want to remove some filtering features and kind of encourage people to use indexes more.
Yeah, if that's one of those API v2 things, is we don't like the fact we confuse you about what's just JavaScript and what is a feature of the database. So a lot of our filtering stuff is no different than you just doing it in JavaScript. And we would probably clean things up by having that just do it in JavaScript.
It
And
should
then
look more JavaScript.
Yeah.
Cool. Migrated. It took 2 weeks. It was worth it. Thank you so much. Hey, here's some feedback. I think it's directed at Mike, but I think it should be directed at like us. I think sometimes our material is a bit too like advanced, maybe, or sometimes our material a little bit assumes you might know what we're talking about already when you might not. So I do think there's room for some more like just like stripped back down to basics kind of convex stuff. I agree. Current limitations of running functions within Convex. If you just search for Convex limits, there's a page that just lists all these down. If any of those are a problem, let us know. They're designed to be fast and scalable and encourage you to build your apps in the right way.
If you want Expo and Chef, go use Bloom or go use A0. Those are customers that have awesome app builders on Convex that do mobile. So we won't keep up with them. You should just use the companies that are doing a great job at that. We already talked about this. Yes, cache hit will be cheaper, but on the enterprise plan, probably not on Pro.
Chef can do one-click deploy to prod, but that's only so there's a domain called convex.app. We host like Chef. If you click the deploy button in the top right, but we don't have hosting, website hosting for regular apps in Convex. Maybe one day, not right now. Need better indexes. Yeah, I mean, not better indexes, but like better index ergonomics, and the indexes they implemented great internally, but they need to be more ergonomic on the client side. Let's have a look to Convex I don't know. It's not true.
We scale queries further than Superbase does, as far as we can tell. That's what our customers tell us.
If you have a reason for thinking this, please let us know. Like I said, we did like design extraordinarily large infrastructure, and so there might be a reason why your query doesn't work well on Convex, and it absolutely could be the case. But please be specific about this kind of stuff if there's a reason. Cool. Better search. I'm in debt. If you learn Convex, can we give you 10,000? Sorry, no.
That's a good shot. Never stop hustling.
I guess I should show someone. Look, I'm just going to share this. Maybe someone does want to give this person 10,000. In which case, hit him up. $10,000. Where Convex unites with Vercel, not on the cards. Sorry, folks. I'm just kind of scrolling through the questions here. Convex is better T-stack. I'm hearing about better T-stack all the time now. Congrats, Mike. Hey, gang. Hey, Mikey. We should work together. Ben, I would love to ride across. Oh my God, I'd love to ride across the United States. I don't know if Jamie will let me ride across the United States.
I will not.
Yeah, I'm still an Australian. I've been here for 20 years, but I still think like Americana is cool. Like I think I just get excited about like Route 66 and seeing the land. I don't know if I want to feel that life.
That's just because you watched Pixar's Cars some years ago. And
I haven't watched Cars, but I watched a lot of when you grow up as a kid and you're like, wow, I want to be out in the plains. I'm just scrolling through. We could maybe work with Mother Duck. Or Duck DB. We just haven't. It's not happening right now. But Convex has a lot of investors. Is the long running. Mike has a video on moving off Convex. It's weird that we'd make a video on moving off Convex, but we want people to not to have to worry about these things.
And just so you all know, like, because I know Sam talks about this, but like a big goal of ours in the next couple of years is to get to cash flow positivity. So we're hoping that we'll be able to also reassure customers some point soon that we're good. We're around for the long haul.
hey, any openings in Convex? Yes, there are. There's 2 jobs we're hiring for right now. Back end kind of systems engineer. There's people who feel comfortable or excited about building databases, building scheduling systems, thinking about how we structure data internally, etc. And also there's an opening for API design engineer. Kind of these are front end folks who really love building TypeScript libraries, very ergonomic APIs. That's the 2 main roles we're hiring for. There's other roles as well. Cool. Oh, I didn't know this. Convex repo hit 10,000 stars this morning. Hey,
Yay.
I didn't know. I didn't know. So thanks for letting us know. What are your insights? Well, firstly, I mean, is this cool that repo's got 10,000 stars? Because it's not the full everything repo yet, and most people are just using Convex without using that. I'm sure me. Convex repo can be all repos, but yeah, I would love to get more people building on the open source stuff. I will say, yeah, like I said, things are heating up over here. Things are really heating up. There's a lot of buzz happening on socials, and thank you. Thank you. I mean, we just have like a really cool, great community, and I like y'all, and I love seeing you say nice things on Twitter and all those places. Default values, please. Yeah, that's a good idea. We should, that's on our list of things we want to do. And this would be like in the schema, you could just have a default value in the schema. It'd probably help out with migrations quite a lot as well. What would be your recommendation about normalization in a schema?
Same instincts as an RDBMS. So we'll go back again to like, even though Convex has a lot of, it's awesome, it's TypeScript, it's documents, it supports unions, lots of ergonomics that are nice. At the end of the day, Convex is a relational database. So when you think about, oh, this is a case in which I would normalize, this is a case in which I might denormalize for performance, all the same instincts apply to Convex. So think the same way.
Yep. Will Convex lower database pricing? Not immediately, but we will do stuff that will make the pricing lower for you, which is like to improve our caching and subquery caching.
We find in practice teams almost always, I won't say always, but almost always save money, even on the pro plan right now. So there are some very specific circumstances, especially if they have crazy high cache hit rates, where they might spend a little more on Convex, but that's very rare. So our pro pricing actually, especially because we now have enough data, we have thousands of paid customers. And so the pricing is not a problem really on Convex, especially once folks learn how to index stuff and all that good stuff. Now, for really scale up folks, that's again the enterprise plan will probably have all kinds of pricing benefits once you're hitting a lot of volume on Convex. So, but that doesn't apply to like kind of most new projects on Convex. So I would expect for Pro to stay costing around what it costs right now. All the feedback we've gotten is that the pricing is pretty fair.
Yep. When can we expect a native CDN? I don't know how to answer that question because we're not working on it, but I'd almost prefer this to be a component. Like I almost prefer to make
R2 component. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the R2 component, and I think we can make it like way easy, like just make this a drop-in thing that can be really featureful.
One of the things that we've talked about and I would love to have is there's these really cool image CDNs, that will resize your image or zoom in on the face or whatever. And I would love to have component. Maybe we probably won't build this, but maybe this is a great thing for the community to take up at some point, is integrating with everyone's favorite image component or image service via a component. We won't build it in for a really long time because, again, we're a small team. We cannot replicate every single service on the internet and do it at the quality they can. We have to stay focused on the core of our business.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good for a CMS. CMS, it's good fit for CMSs. People have built CMSs quite a bit on Convex.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, and I think there's a example repo somewhere of Convex CMS. I think if you search Convex CMS, you might find one.
Oh, look at that latest comment. Okay, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you for sharing that. Because again, we only share customer specifics if they're willing to. But this person that said, yeah, they migrated a month ago, 400,000 transactions per day. They've cut costs and the performance is way up. Most people find that to be true. Convex is faster and cheaper. So because of that reason, I don't feel a need to change the pro pricing. So we're probably going to keep it where it is right now.
Cool. I'm just going to cut off questions now, and we'll get through the remaining ones. We had this question about the downtime the other day. So I'm assuming this was this was the downtime. Was it yesterday or the day before? The days are all blurring together. That was the one. Yeah. So this was a downstream provider. I mean, so firstly, like, I am not passing the buck here, right? Because when you use Convex, you're using Convex, right? So even though it was someone else's downtime, it did affect you, and that's my fault. But yes, we had two simultaneous issues on a downstream provider. They were performing some maintenance. That maintenance saturated the database, so unexpectedly to us, and it caused a failover. Like, a database failover is when there's a primary and a replica, and it was triggering the leader move from a primary to a replica, and it got stuck halfway. And so that's no problem for us. Like, the data is safe, the data is consistent, like everything's set up in a way that the data is durable, but that implies downtime. So we had to go do some like evasive action. We had to go and fix something we had to kind of shut all the instances down that were talking to that database and ramp them back up to allow that database to complete its failover. And so that sucks, right? And that shouldn't happen very often. Like, that just shouldn't happen, right? But that wasn't the bigger problem. Was in the process is happened on two instances, and there was a second instance that had roughly the same problem, approximately, but the database was responding as healthy. And so again, this was the provider's database was saying it was healthy, saying it was fine, but it actually wasn't. And so as a result, we didn't catch it. It took us a bit longer than expected, than we hoped. And so yeah, like I said, I really am not passing the buck on this one, but that's the explanation.
The part of it's definitely on us is like the monitoring, especially of that second database. Like, we did get lost a little in the noise if we were so focused on fixing the first database that we didn't notice the signals that, despite the fact this database was reporting as healthy, there were some instances affected by the second database. And that second database is the one that took a while for us to, and I think someone on Discord was like, would you guys have known if we hadn't yelled? And actually, I think the customer is saying, hey, we were a little like, wait, that should be back up now, and made us realize we kind of missed some of our alerts and stuff because it just so happened two databases had a problem at the same time. And so that's one of those things where, like, we have action items to just figure out how to better, like, separate signal from noise in these incidents and stuff like that. And we should have done better there for sure. Also too, I don't know what the estimate is, James. It was like maybe 10% of databases, or what percentage of
less
5% or something.
Yeah, it was
this whole thing it was yeah, go ahead. You're about to answer the information.
Convex is designed such that these things don't kind of take everyone down, right? So it was a subset of quite a small subset of people that were affected, but obviously there's no consolation for the people that were affected. But there were a subset of folks that had some downtime, and yeah, we apologize for that. I promise we're a competent infrastructural team. Sometimes things happen, unfortunately. And I will say there's been a little bit of chaos recently because we've been doing a lot of changes to our database infrastructure, frankly. And so there's been some growing pains with moving our stack. It's not ordinarily like this. Any plans to update the note? Yes. Yeah, this is embarrassing. We're doing it there's code getting written right now. The reason we dragged our feet is we don't want to just upgrade the runtime. We want the ability to let you choose your runtime, and you're going to decide whether to put that in the package.json file or put it in the convex.json and all this kind of stuff. That's happening. Sorry, it makes us look silly. Yeah, we know that. And when's the next stream? Probably next month. I think we're doing it monthly. If you'll like it, we keep doing it.
If it's useful, we're happy to do it. But so, yeah, we'll probably do it around 4 weeks from now. And as James keeps mentioning Wayne's name, Wayne just magically says, you guys need to show up at this time and sound smart. And we go, okay.
Yeah. So. I think we've probably gone a little bit too far. There's on time because we're meant to wrap up 20 minutes ago. Right. There's a bunch of questions in here. Sorry, I'm not avoiding them. There's themes here, right? You all have questions about auth. You all have questions about EU residency or outside the United States residency. and then stuff about search indexing, etc.
Well, one of the things we can maybe do is the next session we do, it's always the first couple minutes we're waiting for questions to show up. We could just hang on to these questions and dive into a couple of those at the beginning of the next
Here's
session.
what we'll do. Next session we'll post it in advance, and you all can like send some questions in, or maybe we'll build a Convex app where you can upload questions.
Should be doable.
We'll find some way of people be able to get the questions in advance. So thanks everyone. We should sign off. Gotta go do some typing. And thank you for being Convex fans, or if you're not Convex fans, thanks for tuning in. Give it a shot. And
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we appreciate your comments and feedback and critique too. I hope we're not pushing back too much. Like we really appreciate you